I think it was Eala is the match that I was looking at, and there was people like wrapped around the stadium just trying to get in, which is pretty crazy. And I mean, it's cool to see and it's exciting, but obviously, for fan experience, I don't know because I'm not living that same experience. But hopefully, the event kind of continues.
Jessica Pegula, one of the biggest names in women's tennis right now, has come out swinging. Not on the court this time, but off it, and she is not holding back. She is calling out the WTA directly, and she is doing it in defense of one of the most exciting young talents we have seen emerge in years, Alexandra Eala of the Philippines. If you have been following Alexa's journey, you already know what this young woman means to her country and to fans across Asia and beyond. She is not just a tennis player, she is a movement, a symbol of hope and excellence, and a living example of what hard work and dedication can produce. The fans have responded to her in a way that the tennis world has rarely seen from a player at such an early stage of her career. At the Australian Open, something truly remarkable happened. Fans traveled from across the globe, from the Philippines, from different parts of Asia, and from every corner of the world where Alexandra Eala has captured hearts, just to watch her play. These were not casual fans who simply stumbled upon a match. These were devoted, passionate supporters who booked flights, arranged accommodations, and made real sacrifices just to be in the same arena as their hero. That kind of dedication is extraordinary, and that kind of fan base is something most players spend an entire career trying to build. So what did the WTA do with all of that incredible energy? They put Alexandra Eala on a small court. That is exactly what Jessica Pegula is furious about, and honestly, who can blame her? Pegula said it plainly. Alexandra Eala brought fans from all around the globe to the Australian Open, and when those fans arrived, ready to cheer and celebrate and witness history, the WTA had not managed to place her on the biggest court available. Think about that for a moment. You have arguably the biggest crowd draw at the entire tournament, and you are scheduling her matches on a court that cannot even accommodate all the people who came specifically just to watch her?
Fans that we're getting and making that still an enjoyable experience for them. But I did see some of the courts have like lines getting in and it seems really busy, and I saw some reports that it's some of their busiest.
Pegula did not hold back. She called it disrespect, plain and simple. Disrespect toward Alex Eala and disrespect toward the fans who showed up for her. And she was right to say it, because when you think about what those fans actually went through, it makes the whole situation even harder to accept. People stood in long queues, waiting and hoping, just for a chance to get inside and watch their Filipino star play. Many of them never made it in. The courts were too small, the venues too limited, and fans who had traveled thousands of miles ended up standing outside the stadium, trying to catch a glimpse through whatever gap they could find, or missing the match altogether because there simply was not enough room. That is not a scheduling mistake. That is a message. Whether it was meant that way or not, what Alex Eala and her supporters were shown was clear. We do not think you are ready for the big stage. And that message is not just wrong, it is deeply insulting. Pegula went even further. She said she had been told this was the best crowd the Australian Open had ever seen, and that Alex Eala was the main reason for that energy. Think about that for a moment. The best crowd in the tournament's history, and the player who brought those people there was not given a court big enough to hold them. Pegula openly questioned why Eala kept being placed on smaller courts with less space and less capacity, and the WTA has yet to give a proper answer. Pegula also pointed to something that runs a little deeper. She suggested the WTA may not be entirely comfortable with what they are seeing from Eala, and that raises a serious question. Here is a young woman who has built a following across all of Asia, who is drawing new fans to the sport, who is creating real excitement in markets that tennis has been chasing for years. That kind of impact should be embraced and built upon. Instead, judging by how she's been treated, it seems like it is being pushed to the side. Pegula was not the only one to speak out. Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest players the sport has ever seen, also broke his silence. He called Eala the greatest tennis player the Philippines has ever produced, said she deserves full respect, and agreed that the way the WTA handled her schedule and court placements made things unnecessarily harder for her. When someone like Djokovic stands up and says that, people in the tennis world pay attention. This is no longer just fans venting. These are respected, legendary voices in the sport saying something is not right here.
Things like that happen. I mean, you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's so young and she's just coming through. I saw the other day with Alex Eala, that's been a talk, and which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's a big interest.
This is not a new pattern, and it is not an isolated incident that can be brushed off as a simple scheduling mistake. If you have been following Alex Eala's career in the WTA, you have seen this kind of treatment play out before. There have been moments where the system seemed to work against her in ways that just do not happen to other players. Look at what took place during the Australian Open qualifiers. Eala was in the middle of an important rally when she hit a ball that was clearly inside the lines. The mark on the court proved it, but the call came back out. That alone would have been frustrating enough, but the officials did not just give the point to her opponent. They ordered the entire point to be replayed. That is not how tennis works. A ball is either in or it is out. You make the call and you stick with it. You do not replay points just because things get controversial. But somehow, when it comes to Alex Eala, the rules seem to change. What she did next says a lot about who she is. She did not stay quiet and accept it. She walked straight up to the chair umpire, looked them in the eye, calm but firm, and said the words, "I know what you are doing." She refused to be pushed around. She saw exactly what was happening. She said it out loud, and then she went back out and won the match. She fought all the way to the finals of the Australian Open qualifiers. That is what mental strength looks like. That is the kind of toughness that champions are made of. Then there was the incident during her match against Iga Świątek, a multiple Grand Slam champion and one of the best players on the women's tour in recent years. Just being on the same court as Świątek is a big deal for a young player. But right in the middle of that match, at a moment when Eala was starting to build momentum, an official stepped in to make a scene about items in her backpack. Her rhythm was broken, her focus was disrupted, and the timing of the whole thing raised serious questions. When you put all of this together, the court assignments, the officiating decisions, the backpack incident, a pattern starts to become clear, and it is not a good look for the WTA. What it points to is that one of the most exciting, most marketable, and most loved young players in the sport is not being given the platform, the protection, or the respect she has earned. Jessica Pegula noticed it. Novak Djokovic noticed it. Millions of fans around the world are noticing it. Alex Eala deserves better. The fans who traveled from across the world just to watch her play deserve better. The sport itself deserves better. She is not going anywhere. She will keep competing, keep growing, and keep building a legacy that goes beyond rankings and trophies. The real question is whether the WTA will do the right thing and start treating her the way she deserves, with fairness, with respect, and with the recognition that she is not just a rising star. She is already something special, and it is time the WTA started acting like they know it. Let us know in the comments what you think. Is the WTA deliberately overlooking Alex Eala, or is this just poor scheduling and bad management? Did they drop the ball by not putting her on a bigger court, despite the huge crowd she brought in? And do you think Jessica Pegula and Novak Djokovic speaking out will actually push the WTA to make real changes? Drop your thoughts below, and if you're an Alex Eala fan, make sure the WTA hears from you.